none of that. Everything was just bombed. Everything was just destroyed everywhere. Gas masks, M16 rifle, full mop gear, Kevlar vest, bulletproof vest. I get there to Baghdad International Airport, this massive armored vehicle called a rhino. It actually looks like a rhinoceros, massive. It's a level 6 armored vehicle that's to protect you. You get in the vehicle, there's these little slots, they're rectangular slots like this. You punch out the slots, you stick your weapon out of it, and it's like a bus. There's seats all along the side. You stick your weapon out of it and you get ready. Because many times these rhino vehicles going from Baghdad International Airport through the red zone to the green zone where the US Embassy was, they would get fired at all the time. And they would get bombs thrown at them or whatever, and we lost many of these rhinos. So I'm coming into this situation not prepared at all, not ready for this at all, and you know, suck it up, suck it up, suck it up. You know, the guy's yelling at us, you know, just get ready, lock and loaded, lock and loaded. That's all I keep hearing. So I stick my weapon out the door, the little window thing there, you know, and I'm just ready. And we're driving through the red zone, and there's like explosions everywhere. There's fire, there's bombs, there's all over the place. And cars and they leave it. Like they don't do anything. It's just there. So we're just driving, and they're like so numb, so like used to this kind of stuff. The guy that's driving, the guy that are in charge, they're like not even affected by this, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, whoa, you know. And so we're driving all the way through. We get to the U.S. Embassy, and right away it was just like thrown into all this stuff. We go into my office, and all the windows are boarded up. I mean, it was gunshots everywhere. I'm like, what is going on here? I was not ready for that. And so I was part of the team that was in charge of security checkpoints. All of the people coming into the U.S. Embassy, they had to get background checks, they had to get their passports, their visas, all their stuff, because they had to make sure that they were legitimate people. Terrorists were literally being disguised as civilians, as military personnel, coming into the U.S. Embassy and trying to plant bombs, you know. And so that was my job, is to make sure there was high security. And so we had a picture of several of them, of all the terrorists, all the people that were wanted, all the people that you know, had did acts of terrorism towards our country, or people who were affiliated with them, or people who had supplied them or given them money. We had all their faces. And I remember one time we had this guy who came in. Well, they always came in. Every day they came in, tons of them, just civilians, all kinds of stuff. And they all look different. They're all from different countries. They're all from different backgrounds. They all speak different languages. So you can't tell one from the other. They're all different. There's no like one set, oh, well, that's a terrorist right there. No, they should just look different. So one time a guy came in, and my friend and I were looking at the list of people, and we saw that it was very similar to the guy who had showed up with, you know, 3 other guys there. And so we knew the protocol. We called the Black Ops team. We called the Secretary of State office. They had a guys, and they came. They escorted him. They took him out, and I don't know what happened to him, but I found out later that he was a terrorist. He was coming to cause harm on the U.S. Embassy, and so I was part of that, you know. But we were not safe in that place at all. There was rockets and mortars and bombs going off all the time, and these guys were so they were like not even like courageous at all, and they're just cowards. They would literally shoot a mortar or a rocket and they would run. And so, and then to go try to fight them, like hand-to-hand combat, arm-to-arm combat, there was none of that. It was just a bunch of cowards attacking us all the time. So this is what it was. And so there was a frustration also that was building up. It's like, oh my gosh, I just want to fight already, because, you know, like, I mean, man up, you know, let's fight if we're going to fight, right? And it was none of that. It was all just secret attacks. And so one night I was working in my job On the west wing, on the east wing was our cafeteria where dining hall was, and it was dinner time, and it got bombed. The whole place got bombed. Mass casualties. Just devastation everywhere. Immediately the whole team came and they blocked off that whole area. I didn't get to see everything, but I knew people that I worked with, people that I was stationed with out there were gone, and I was in a state of fear. I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta get out of here, I'm next. And so this constant fear was over me, like I gotta get out of here, But trying to leave that place was like next to impossible, because the Rhino vehicle that dropped us off, the times to pick us up, they kept that secret information. They didn't tell anybody, not even the military personnel, what time they were coming. It was all hours of the night. It was like odd days of the week. It wasn't like a set schedule or anything like that for fear of, we don't want this to get bombed, and attacked. And so I had a date, but not really. I mean, it was like, maybe today, maybe, so I was like on the edge of my seat. I had all my stuff packed up after I had served my time. Everything was packed up, all my gear. Day after day, I would wait, just praying, get me out of here. And I didn't even know God at the time. But at that time, I was praying. When you're faced with death, when you're faced in that situation, you're just like, you'll do anything that you can to when desperate time calls for desperate measures. So I was praying, and then I said, God, if you get me out of here, I'll do anything for you. And I had no intention to make good on that promise. It was just something to get out of there. There was a suspicious vehicle out of the rendezvous point. I knew where that was. I knew where I needed to be. I didn't know what time, but there was a suspicious vehicle outside. And the suspicious vehicle, eventually we found out that it had a car bomb in it. So we had to wait for the EOD team to come out and do a controlled explosion, because they didn't want to take any chances. They knew the Rhino was supposed to come that night, and so they exploded it. And then after they did that, they notified us, okay, it's time. So I was able to get out. Oh my gosh. It was the scariest, most petrifying drive all the way back from the green zone to the red zone at the airport. But it was like such a relief that came over me that I was like, oh my gosh, thank God that I'm leaving. But as it turns out, it was going to be 3 weeks before I actually got home. It was the longest time ever. It was like, hurry up, wait. Hurry up, wait. Hurry up, wait. It's like, oh my gosh. I ended up getting blessed somehow with this R&R vacation to Kuwait. So they gave us this time. It was like all this hurry up and waiting. They're like, well, might as well make use of the time since you're hurry up and waiting everywhere. So they routed us to Kuwait. We got we got sent to the villas at the Hilton on the beach in Kuwait. We got our own private villas with our own swimming pools. We had all access to the buffets. We had all access to every amenity, the jacuzzis, the hot tubs, the spas, everything. I mean, you name it. We had dinner with dignitaries and sultans. I mean, the guys wearing these things and they have like rings on their fingers and they have like 10 concubines next to them. That's where I was. It was insane. But the state that I was in, I was not able to enjoy any of that. I mean, talking about escargot, creme brulee, salmon and all these exotic fishes and everything, and it was like I was a shell. I was an empty shell. I was like not enjoying that. All I kept thinking about, when am I going to get home? And I had to stay in that place for 2 weeks. It was the hardest thing ever. I couldn't enjoy any of it. They wanted to give me massages, they wanted to take me to spa treatments, they wanted to do all these things and pamper me and everything and have these like world-class dinners and everything, and it was just like, it didn't even mean anything to me at that point. I was just like, get me out of here, get me home. Then from there, so I got out of there, they sent me to Qatar, and then from Qatar I went to Frankfurt, Germany. From Frankfurt, Germany, I went to Aviano, Italy. from Aviano, Italy to Baltimore. From Baltimore, I went to Seattle, and then finally into Alaska. 3 weeks later, it took me to get home, and that was like the craziest thing ever. I can just remember being in the airplane and just crying and crying and crying and feeling this heaviness inside of me that would just not go away. Anything I did. I mean, I did it all. I didn't do drugs in the military, but I definitely had a lot of alcohol. A lot of alcohol. And I think I even smoked some cigarettes, but that didn't work out because I was trying to run as well. So I had this heaviness, but once again, the mentality kicked in. Stuff it, suppress it, press on, move on, you know, suck it up, suck it up, suck it up. That's what I was taught, you know. And I didn't know that, you know, with the contamination of my soul, with the contamination of my heart, my body, my physical body also was contaminated. When I got back to Alaska, I went to my doctor and they found a lump on my neck. And the doctor was checking it out and everything like that. Oh, it's just an enlarged thyroid. And keep an eye on it. I said, okay, no problem. And I was so in denial at that point. Any warning signs, anything anybody tried to talk to me about, I was just like, nope, I'm pressing on. I'm running in the Olympics. I'm doing this thing. I was training for the Air Force Marathon at the time. So I was just so like engulfed in that. Engulfed in training, weightlifting, doing everything I could to do to you know, prepare for this marathon. I get orders to the after my assignment is over at Alaska, I get orders to the Azores, a little island right outside of Portugal, and it's a 1-year remote tour unaccompanied assignment, which means that you can't bring family. And I had just came back from Iraq without my son. And the last thing I wanted to do was go a whole entire year without my son again. And all my friends were telling me, this place is amazing, you can have your own palace, you can have maids, you can have a butler, you can have a chauffeur, you can have all kinds of stuff. It's so cheap out there, just go, you want to go there, this is like awesome place. But something in my heart just did not sit right about that. As much as I wanted to have all that worldly stuff and all that, you know, glitz and glamour and everything like that, you know, and be on an island outside of Portugal, like, wow, you know, I couldn't do it. I'm so thankful that I made that choice. So in fear of dereliction of duty, in fear of getting reprimanded and getting my orders canceled and getting rerouted to a horrible assignment, because I did hear that there's people who actually would cancel their orders and they would get like almost like a prison type place and a horrible assignment where they literally were like slaves. That's what I heard, you know. And so in fear of that, I said, I can't go. So I canceled my assignment and I got stationed in Mountain Home. And I heard the worst things about Mountain Home. Mountain Home is the armpit of the Air Force. You don't want to go there. It's so boring. It's horrible. You go to Mountain Home and you're just going to be so bored. You're going to end up counting grass. That's how crazy it is there, you know? And I was like, I don't know why. I have no idea, because there was nothing like good inside me. But I didn't listen to anybody. I was just like, well, anything is better than Baghdad, Iraq. You don't know where I just came from, you know. So I got stationed in Mountain Home, Idaho, at the Air Force Base there, July 2006. Okay, I was training. The Air Force Marathon was September of that same year, just a couple months later. I was training, and I was running. One morning I woke up and I fainted. And I went into the shower. Actually, I fainted in the shower, excuse me. I went into the shower, I fainted in the shower, I woke up to a pool of blood around me. I panicked, I called 911, the ambulance came, got me, and they rushed me to the ER. I found out later that I cut my knee from end to end. It was a gash on the faucet. And so when they took me to the hospital, they ran all these tests on me. They couldn't find out what was wrong. And so they said, we're not sure, we want to run some more tests, but we're going to have to do it next week because it's going to have to be at another location. And I said, well, I can't go next week because I'm running the Air Force Marathon. So I'll come back 2 weeks from now. And he said, okay, that's fine. And then they asked me about the lump on my neck, and I told them, oh, well, it's an enlarged thyroid. The doctor said just keep an eye on it. This was in Alaska, remember, when I came back from Iraq. So when I went to the Air Force Marathon in Dayton, Ohio, I did awesome. I qualified for the Boston Marathon. My dream was always to run in the Olympics, and so being able to get qualifying times and doing the Boston Marathon, that all helps with it. And so I did really well. My plan was to come back to Mountain Home and fill out my application for the Boston Marathon. When I got back, I had remembered, oh yeah, I told the doctor I was going to go see him, and do the test. So I did. I went to the doctor, and he's like, well, we decided we're going to do a biopsy on that lump that you have, and we'll do the biopsy, and then we'll call you. So I went home or whatever. 2 days later, he calls me, and he tells me, you tested positive for Reed-Sternberg cells, Hodgkin's lymphoma. You have cancer. And I was like, I was in denial, I was in shock, all kinds of emotions came upon me. I was just like, oh my gosh, but at the same time, how I did it, I sucked it up, I stuffed it, and I pressed on. And I didn't think that having cancer was going to affect my running career. I just thought I was still going to be able to do it. And so that was on a Thursday. They ran a bunch of tests on me, and the following Friday was my birthday. October 9th, 2006 was my first chemotherapy appointment. I went to my chemotherapy appointment on my birthday, and I remember feeling a little bit anxious, but I was just like, all right, let's just get this over with, let's just take my dose and so I can get on because I got some training to do, I'm going to go run, 6 or 7 miles or whatever. They put the bags up, and they put the IV injection in me, and I started sitting there, and all of a sudden, this feeling, I feel burning sensation in my body, like I'm getting burned from the inside out. And I was screaming for the nurse, nurse, I'm getting burned on my back. Oh, I just felt burned. It was horrible. I literally felt on fire, but not a good fire. My whole back got chemically burned. I had scars all over my back. I still have them today. From chemotherapy, my first session of chemotherapy. And that was my birthday. And I eventually got used to the burn. I eventually got, they gave me some topical anesthetic or something like that, some medication to not feel it, because they didn't want to not give me the chemotherapy. So I just had to suck it up and just had to bear the pain. But it got to the point where it went numb, so I didn't feel it anymore, so it was fine. But yeah, I kept on going on to my chemo treatments, but I started getting really weak. After maybe 2 months, I kept on getting weak and weak and weak to the point where I couldn't run anymore. And my hair started falling out, like sheds and gobs everywhere. It would be in my food, it would be on my pillow, it would be in the shower. It would fall everywhere, all over the back of my clothes, my hoodie, sweatshirts, all my hair. It was horrible. It was like a nightmare, hair everywhere. And so the hair thing and the chemotherapy, actually the exhaustion started to wear down on me. And then it started to sink in. This is terrible. I hate this. I can't take this anymore. Running was the only thing that I had, and it was being taken from me. I couldn't run anymore. And so I just went into depression. I went into depression. The doctor put me on antidepressants and he put me on anti-anxiety medication. My family at the time that I was going through chemo, all of them in California, my sister Lena, my brother Tony, my mom, they all had came to Jesus. They all got born again. My brother got radically saved in jail. My brother ended up incarcerated. He got saved in jail. He came out of jail, witnessed to my sister Lena, witnessed to my mom. They all got saved. And here I am in Mountain Home, Idaho with cancer. These prayer warriors come alongside me and start praying for me, start interceding for me, start sharing Jesus with me. But at this time I was in depression and I was also heavily medicated on drugs. So anytime I wasn't drugged up, my brother was telling me about Jesus. You need Jesus, you need Jesus. He'd be shaving my hair, because sometimes it would grow back all wiry between chemo appointments. And so he would be, he was so good, he did the fades, he would fade all of his, gangster friends and stuff, so he always came to a mountain home with his clippers, and he would shave my hair. And so, you need Jesus, you need Jesus, you need Jesus. And I was so mad at God for ruining my life. I was like, the last thing I want to hear is about God. Don't tell me about God, And so that was happening. So they would put me on the antidepressants. They would put me on the anti-anxiety medication. They would take me to my chemo appointments, all drugged up. So I had no choice because I told the doctor, actually, I'm not going to be coming anymore to chemo appointments. I don't want to do this anymore. You're poisoning me. I'm just going to let the cancer kill me. I don't want to do this anymore. And my brother said, no, you're a fighter. You're not going out like this. You're going to fight. You're going to fight. You're going to get back up and you're going to fight. So they would literally drug me up and take me to my chemo appointments, and I was all drugged up, and I would sit there. They would hook me up, and I would sit there for 8 hours and just receive chemotherapy, not even alert. Not even alert. I don't know how I got there. I don't know how I got home. All I know is that angels were watching over me and helping me out in this time because I had nothing inside of me that wanted to live, and I had no will to go. So by the grace of God and my family, I got better. I was done with chemo. They wanted to wait 4 months to see if the chemo actually worked before they started taking PET scans, CT scans, CAT scans, all these things over my body and everything like that. And so I was in a waiting period. And I didn't really know if I was healed or not. I didn't really know, but I just was done with chemo. And so I had just moved from Mountain Home to Boise because the drives were getting too much, because I was at Mountain State Tumor Institute and St. Luke's in downtown Boise. So I got a little apartment here in Boise, and my brother kept on calling me, how are you doing, how are you doing, you need Jesus, you need to go to church. And at that point in my life, I just was like, I didn't have anything, I didn't have anybody, I was done with chemo. The military had actually medically retired me because while I was diagnosed with cancer, I got a deployment orders to Korea, to South Korea. And I couldn't go to those, I couldn't go on that deployment. So they medically retired me because I couldn't fight in the war anymore. So they had no use for me. So I had just gone through cancer, I had just medically retired, I had gone through the divorce, I was a single mom with my son who was just 4 years old at the time. All this is going on, and my brother's like, you need Jesus, you need Jesus. And I said, okay. So the people I was living in the apartment complex came to my door, and it just so happens that I had just gotten off the phone with my brother, and they're like, hey, how's it going? We see that you're new to the area. We wanted to invite you to church. And I said, oh, great. And they said, yeah, we're Christian. So come to our church. We'd love to welcome you. We do this with all the new people coming in. And I said, okay, great. So I went to the church. I was so welcomed. I was so loved. It was a little awkward. They did some things that I'd never seen before because I'd gone to the Catholic Church. But they had some weird practices there. And so, but it didn't faze me because they were loving, they were nice. And so I just went, and I actually went like 2 or 3 times. And then one time my brother had called me and he said, did you go to church yet? Have you found Jesus? I said, yeah, I went to church. These nice people in the apartment complex told me about it. They told me they're Christian. And he said, well, what's the name of the church? And I said, they're Latter-day Saints. They're church, Latter-day Saints. And he said, run! Don't ever go back there again. He's like, that's a cult. You don't go back there. Don't answer the door when they come to the door. You stay away from those people. They're going to brainwash you. So he went on Google, Foursquare, non-denominational, Bible-believing church, Christian. And Calvary Chapel, Boise came up. And so he said, listen, here's the address, 123 Auto Drive. Go to this place. Don't go anywhere else. You just go straight to there. Don't talk to anybody on the way. Just go there. And I said, I was like, okay. And I had no idea what was the problem, whatever. And so I go to the church. That night, it happened to be a college-age service. It was like an evening service. I go there, and I'm feeling this heavy weight in my heart. This dam, it felt like a dam, and there was a massive amount of water just pushing on it. And all of a sudden, the heaviness came upon me, and I cracked. Everything, years and years of tears, just started coming down, all the heaviness in my heart that I've been carrying for years and years and years. And when I walked into that church, and I felt love in the atmosphere, I felt welcomed, I felt almost like home, And I listened to the message, but during this whole time I was just crying and crying and crying. And then the pastor said at the end of the service, if there's anybody here that needs prayer, we're going to have some prayer counselors right here with you. Come to the foot of the stage and they'll pray with you. And I ran to the altar. And this young gentleman right there prayed with me. And he led me to Jesus.
Amen.
And what I didn't know at the time, that this guy that prayed for me, he wasn't normally a prayer counselor. He actually was the worship leader, and he normally would do worship, and he would normally do teaching. He would teach that service. And so, just so happens that night, he was asked, will you pray with people after the service? And he did. He, at the foot of the stage, he prayed with me. He was walking in boldness, and he led me to Jesus, and I gave my heart to the Lord, and it was I was finally saved. Jesus canceled my lifetime subscription to Issues. and so I received the Lord in my heart. I got freed from all this stuff, all this junk, all this crazy stuff was just coming out of me. I had so much snot, I had so much issues, and he told me, this young gentleman told me, you need to get plugged in right away. You're a new believer, you need to go to a Bible study, don't leave yourself exposed, get plugged in. And I said, okay. So he invited me to his co-ed Bible study, and I started coming. I started growing in the Lord. I started reading the Bible. I started feasting on the Word of God. I was hungry too, because I wanted to know this God, I wanted to get to know Him. So I started, growing. And this young gentleman, he was teaching me the Word and everything like that, and he would invite me to the coffee shops downtown at the time, Java. We would open the Bible together. We would learn. And he would teach me the Word and stuff like that, and we started growing, and we started liking each other. We started dating. We started having a relationship together, and I got to the point where conviction came upon me, and I said, I can't. If I want to pursue this relationship with this guy, I cannot hide my junk in the closet anymore. All my issues, all the stuff I'd done, all the stuff I'd seen, all the, everything, he had to know if I was going to proceed with him, And so I had planned this date for us to go to the Cheesecake Factory in Boise. We were going to meet there, and I was going to unload all my baggage on him. And I planned that was going to be our last date. I planned that was going to be the last time that I saw him. I knew that after he knew what I had done, what was in my closet, he wasn't going to want anything to do with me anymore. He was done with me. But I had to tell him the truth. I had to be honest. I lied to everybody all my life. I stole, I cheated, I did everything. I couldn't do this to this innocent person who was coming into my life. I had to be honest. And for once in my life, I had to come clean. So I took him to the Cheesecake Factory, and I remember just being so empty, no emotions, no nothing, just going down the laundry list. I was divorced, I'm a single mom, I have a son, I went through cancer, I was in war, I'm empty, all these things. Oh, and by the way, I just went through cancer, and I'm probably not going to be able to have kids because my womb is dead. So, yeah, that's my story, and he starts crying. He just starts crying and crying and crying. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Are you okay? I was weirded out. I didn't understand why he was crying. And he leaves. He runs to the bathroom for like 45 minutes. And I'm just sitting there like, oh my gosh, what just happened? That does not go the way that I expected it for it to go. I wanted to leave that restaurant so bad. But something, I don't know what, told me stay and wait to see what happens. Finally, he comes back. The waiter had come so many times. Are you guys all right? Can I get you guys anything? And I'm just like, yeah, we're okay. I was like embarrassed. I was shocked. I was like ashamed. All this like emotions, so uncomfortable. And so he comes back. His eyes are all swollen. He's like had so much tears coming down his eyes. And I'm just like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, you don't understand. When you were sharing your testimony, when you were sharing what happened, when you were sharing all that stuff about your life, I didn't see that. I saw you before the cross. I saw you on your face before Jesus, pouring out your heart to the Lord. And I heard Jesus say, this is the one I have for you. If you want her to be your wife, this is who I pick for you. And when he told me this, grace flooded my heart. I couldn't believe with all my baggage and all my issues somebody actually wanted me. And I was really weirded out. I was like, you're going to be my wife. That's what he told me. He said, you're going to be my wife. I'm like, what? Did you just not hear what I said? All the stuff that I just unleashed on you? I'm going to be your wife? Are you sure? Or did you? I was like questioning the voice that he heard, And I just stayed quiet because I didn't know what to say. I was just really quiet. We get done, we finish our meal, we go out to the parking lot, and he turns around and he says, I know you don't understand this right now, but you'll see it in time. You're going to be my wife. He didn't ask me. There was no proposal. There was no will you marry me or anything like that. It was like a prophetic declaration over my life. You're going to be mine. It's like, okay. I was a little bit scared. He was very bold. Very bold to lead me to Jesus and very bold to say I was going to be his wife. So we continued dating. We didn't talk about that because that was really uncomfortable. And he goes into a fast. He starts fasting. And he has to be confirmed that I'm supposed to marry him because I have a son. He's going to be a father right away. He's got to deal with that. That's not his son. So he fasts for a whole week, and sure enough, the Lord confirmed it. This is your wife. You need to marry her. 6 months later, we get married. And that's Zach. And I thought that having Jesus come into my heart and marrying this awesome Christian man, that everything was going to be happily ever after, and it was not. Let me tell you, my issues continued to come up in our marriage, and I continued to have stuff come out. And I had to learn day by day how to walk it out, how to walk out my intimacy with Jesus, how to walk out my relationship with Jesus, how to walk out my salvation, how to walk out my issues and all the stuff that I had carried into the marriage. Because you remember, I had the view that I have of modeled for me as parents was not good. It was horrible, you know? So that was part one of my testimony. I have to share part two with you guys because I'm so sorry we went so long, but my life is crazy. My life was crazy. It's almost 1 o'clock now, so I do have part two of from that time, which was 2008, to today, 2019. That's part two of my testimony of how I walked out my freedom, how I walked out my deliverance. I'll have to share it another time, but I tell you what, the key that I've learned, one key that I've learned out of all my walking and struggling and dropping and getting back up and falling and getting back up all the time with the Lord is always go to Him. Always go to Him. Don't stop coming to Him with all your issues, with all your baggage, with all your slip-ups, with all your cycles. Don't stop coming to Him. Because it's in the coming to Him. It's in the presence of God where you're transformed. And today I stand before you fully convinced that I am 100% free from everything. From alcohol, from addictions. I'm free from the fear of man. I'm free from the fear of rejection. I'm free. All of that, it has no hold on me anymore. I'm completely 100% free. Because I know who I am in Christ. I know who I am as a daughter of God. And that's enough for me. That's enough. When I have my eyes fixed on Him, I can't be disappointed by other people because I'm not looking at them. My eyes are not on people anymore. They're on Him. I'm fixed on Him. My gaze is on Him. And all I do is behold Him, spend time with Him, as hard as it is sometimes, as really, you know, I'm not feeling anything here, God, you know. I still go. It's a discipline. It's a discipline. It's one day after the other, a discipline. Going into His presence. Going into His presence. And it's just His presence that's going to change, though, because really, we can listen to worship. We can read our Bible. We can pray. We can do all these things. But if we're not encountering the presence of God, if we're not spending time with Him, the person of Jesus Christ, there's no transformation. You have to spend time with Him. He's the one that carries the power for chains to be broken once and for all. You have to be with Him. You have to spend time with Him, communing with Him. Even if it's just 10 minutes a day, you increase in that. You bring your tiny little loaves of fish, your little loaves. You bring your fish, whatever you have, wherever you're at. You bring that little. He will break it. He will bless it. He will multiply it. Little by little, by little by little, just one day after the other. And you will see your transformation. You will see your breakthrough. You will see that you will be possessed by the Spirit of God and you will be once and for all free. You will be free. You will be free. And whomever the Son sets free is free indeed. Amen. There's no going back. There's no going back. There's not. You will be free. You will behold Him. And you will become the person that He created you to be in your fullness. All of you. Spirit, soul, and body fully 100% alive to God. And you will feel Him every single day. The fire of God will come upon you. Power will come upon you. You will feel His presence. You will tremble in His presence when you encounter Him. When you spend time with Him, you'll see. It didn't start like that way for me, you guys. It didn't. It did not. I just was like, oh, I'm just like, I'm not feeling this. I'm bored. I just want to get on my phone. I want to do all these other things. And he said, give me your 100% attention. Give me your attention. And I said, okay. So I just increased in my time. First it was 15 minutes. Then it was 20 minutes. Then it was an hour. And then it was 2 hours. And then it was 4 hours. But guys, once you get in that place and you encounter him, you get addicted. You get addicted to the presence of God. You just want to keep going back, and you want to keep going back for more and for more and more, and you realize you're so hungry. You're like, whoa, I didn't even realize this was happening. I was just coming to you like on purpose and because it's a discipline and because I have to. But actually you met me where I'm at, and you took that place, and now I'm hungry. I want more. I want more of you, God. I want more. I want more of you. I can't get enough of your presence. And he just comes and he fills you with joy. He fills you with peace. He fills you with unconditional love for all those horrible people around you that you can't even stand and you can't even get along with. You're having issues all in your family, all tension and all this stuff. All of a sudden your heart changes. Your heart is like flesh again. And you're just like, whoa, God, I actually want to pray for that person. I actually feel sorry for that person. I actually want to bless them now. And I want to be a blessing in their life. I don't want to be a hindrance in their life. I don't want to be a hang-up for them. I need you, God. I need you. I want more of this. You're actually making my enemies to be at peace with me. Really? Thank God. In his grace and in his mercy, since he's been changing me, I have been able to go to my past with my ex-husband and make peace and settle that with him, and him and I are on good terms now, only by the grace of God, only by the power of God, only because, not because he changed, because he didn't change, he was still him. My heart changed. God changed me. My heart of stone turned into a heart of flesh, a sensitive, loving heart that doesn't condemn or judge anybody anymore. I don't judge nobody. You know my past. I have no room to judge. I have no room to look at you and condemn you. I know where I came from. All I have is love in my heart now for every one of you. And I want so bad for you guys to be where I am. Abiding in his constant presence. Abiding in him. Where you get everything you need. No TV, no liquor, no alcohol, no drugs, no sex, no relationship. Nothing can satisfy you like God can satisfy you. Only him. He can satisfy the deepest longings in your heart that you've been wanting for so long. All your dreams, all your desires, everything you've ever wanted in your heart. He knows those things. He'll bring it out of you. He'll bring it out of you. He's a good God. He's a good God. He's a good Father. He's a good, good Father. And he has nothing but love in his heart for every one of you. Nothing but love. No condemnation, no shame, no pointing the finger. Look at you, there you go again. No, that's the devil. That's the devil. All he has is a heart of love for you. Unconditional love. And all he says is come. Come. Just come. Let me love on you. Let me love on you. Let me get on you. Let me love you. And you will become like me. You will become like the one that you behold. You will become like the one that you worship and you adore. Just like your parents, when you were growing up, as you noticed, you started acting like your dad or your mom. You didn't even know you were acting like your dad or your mom. Like, dang, I'm acting like my mom again. Dang, I'm acting like my dad again. That's because the person you hang out with the most, that's who you start becoming like. Start hanging out with Jesus, you're going to become like Jesus. Your world is going to get rocked. Your world is going to be turned upside down. Your world is going to be, it's going to actually your life is going to start. Your life is going to begin with Him. For those who love their life, they're going to lose it. But those who don't love their life, they're going to find it. When you want to give your life away to Him and you give it to Him, He'll come. And He'll say, all right, let's do that exchange. You give me that life that you made for yourself, and I'll give you mine. The life of holiness, the life of perfection, the life of love, the life of intimacy, the life where you're not judging people and your mind is all jacked up with thoughts all the time about this person and that person and this and that and all the issues you have and finances and all this stuff. Your mind will just get polluted. You'll get the mind of Christ. You'll get the mind of Christ. Your mind is going to be renewed, and all you can think about is heavenly things. All you can think about is God. And all you can think about is, when's the next time I'm going to be with you? When's the next time I'm going to see you? When's the next time I get to be with you and love on you? And you'll see when you get that experience, when you get that encounter with the Lord, He'll pick you up, He'll wrap you in His arms, and He'll just love on you. He's not there to judge you. He's not there to point out your flaws. No. He's just there to love on you, because it's in that loving, it's in that beholding, it's in that place where you start to get softened and all your issues get worked out. It starts to like melt away. All the chains, one by one, clip, 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 all the chains start to be broken off as you spend time with Him. So it's actually not even work. It's not even like a striving. It's just come to Him and rest in His presence. And He'll fill you with the fullness of God, and you'll become like Him. So I leave that with you guys. I bless you guys. I bless you guys. Please go as you feel led.
Yeah, we just want to pray for you guys. We consider it a privilege, every one of you who's chosen to spend this time with us on a Sunday morning.
Yes.
To be with us, to be with Laura and I and our kids and Jesus. Consider it a real honor and a privilege to have every one of you here. And we just pray a rich blessing over all of you who have not wasted this time, but have invested this time.
Yeah.
Lord God, multiply it
Yes.
in every person's life as they go from here today to enjoy their Sunday.
Yeah.
May your presence and the richness of the Holy Spirit be multiplied in their hearts.
Yes, Lord.
And may there be an awakening and an awareness in all of us of the goodness of God, of the reality of the Holy Spirit. As we worship our King Jesus, we worship you and we love you and we praise you, Lord.
Thank you, Lord.
It's not complicated. We just want to love on you and be loved on by you, Lord.
Yes.
In Jesus' name,
Amen.
amen.
Love you guys. I love you guys all.
Thanks for being with us today, guys.
Love you guys all.
We went long,
I'm so
but
sorry.
thank you for being patient and being with us.
Yeah, I apologize for...
Feel free to hang out. If you got to hurry out to your Super Bowl party, go ahead. But if you want to hang out, you're free to hang out.
You don't have to apologize.
You were?
Yeah.
Station out there? Oh, tell me. Yay! I have to give you something real quick. I'll be right back. Oh my gosh, thank you, Leah. Thank you so much.
You get some. You get it with it. The time we yeah, see. Every week
Thank you, guys.
Connor, do you need lunch before we go to the